Welcome to the American Business Podcast. I'm Kevin Deveci, your host. I'm welcoming you episode 132. We are in season 5 in the American Business Podcast. And we are streaming live from New York City. Quote of today, as you know, we have a great partnership with missionsystems.com. And today's quote is, a person often meets his destiny on the road he took to avoid it. Today's number, 1 hour and 31 minutes. This is how long it took for American climber Alex Honnold to climb Taipei 101 building in Taipei, Taiwan. And he climbed without ropes. Alright, great. Well, we have a special guest today. I'm going to invite our guest to our virtual stage and we'll get the conversation started. Alright, so let's invite our guest to our virtual stage. Alright, looking good. Hello, Jordan. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Kevin. Good to see you.
Well, pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much for being with us in your busy schedule. I appreciate it. Very nice meeting you in the American Business Podcast.
Great to be here. I'm excited to do it.
Well, pleasure is all mine. Well, let's talk about 2025, if that's okay. How was the last year for you? Any reflections on 2025? And what are your expectations for the new year, 2026?
Yeah. Gosh, a lot happened in 2025. And when I think about business, it was a year of preparation. So we have a really big partnership coming up that launches actually next month, February of 26. And so it was just a lot of preparing in terms of go-to-market, in terms of our product, in terms of integrations, in terms of getting everyone in the company kind of moving in the same direction towards this big thing. So it was a lot of that and a lot of ups and downs and stops and starts, challenges that we had to overcome. Moving into 2026, it feels much more like, all right, it's go time. The time is now. It's here. Let's execute. So way less about preparation, much more about execution and iterating on things as we go and making sure that we clean up anything that any processes that aren't working for us. So very, very different years. From a personal standpoint, 2025 is, in the end of an era for my family. I've got 5 kids and they've all been under 13 until next month. And I'm about to have a teenage girl in the household.
All right.
I'm excited and terrified and confused and intimidated about.
Well, that's great. Congratulations. I mean, as a parent, I think these are all milestones that you'll always remember. So I can definitely relate to it. And most of our audience, they also know. So my background is business software. So to your earlier points, when it comes to integrations and all these preparations that will open your new markets, these are pretty important moments in any organization's history.
Yeah.
So I can imagine how busy you are and excited you are and your team.
Yeah, both of those things. Busy.
Okay. Makes sense. All right, sounds good. Well, let's dive deeper into our conversation. Would you please introduce yourself and your organization to our viewers and to our listeners?
Yeah, so I guess starting with me, Jordan Peace, I'm the CEO of Fringe. I mentioned being a father of 5. I'd give you some of my interests and hobbies, but I don't really have time for any because I have a startup and 5 kids. So that's kind of the extent of what life is right now, and squeezing in some time to go to the gym and to go to therapy, and that's about it. But in terms of Fringe, Fringe is an employee experience tool. So what Fringe does is that it aggregates so many of these, what you might call people programs or employee experience programs, into one piece of software. So our companies that we work with, they use us to do rewards and recognition. They use us to do wellness or like steps challenges, wellness challenges, those sorts of things. We also do company swag stores. We do learning and development. We do gifting and a few more things as well, lifestyle benefits and a few other things as well. But the whole goal of that is we're really just trying to help companies create an employee experience that feels intentional, that feels connected, and that really drives retention and recruiting in a really real way. And so a lot of our companies tend to find themselves on best places to work list. They tend to have very kind of people forward, culture forward leadership. And it's really kind of a values alignment thing when it comes to how we seek and find customers. But I love doing it. I've been doing it for 7 years. And whenever this one is over, I will probably start another company, another software company, most likely, because I'm kind of hooked on it now and I don't see myself doing anything else.
Yes, that's the thing about business software. My business background is all traditional industries like heavy duty manufacturing, import, export, wholesale
Okay.
distribution. So 10 years ago, when I entered the business software industry, just it was really, for me, it was a big evolution. I mean,
Right.
really, like you learn new things, and to your point, you really get hooked easily.
Yeah.
It is because it is different from traditional business industries or manufacturing industries as we'll know it. So
Right.
it makes a lot of sense. Well, can you tell us about your career journey a little bit? How did you get started? How your career journey has unfolded over the years?
Yeah, honestly, I have no business being here at all. So 7 years ago, I was running a company called Greenhouse Money, and Greenhouse Money was basically advice for hire. It was me and a business partner who were kind of financially planning trained, and we had customers that just paid us a set amount per month, and we would give them advice on how to budget, how to invest, how to prepare for the future, set goals, kind of the whole behavioral management side of financial planning. And we did that for a little while, but in the midst of that, I had the idea for Fringe. But even before that, I was in nonprofit work, no formal business training, no. I can't write a line of code to this day. I'm completely non-technical, which matters less and less. I feel like as AI has become, much more of a thing. But yeah, I mean, when we started this business, I remember Google searching, how do you raise money for a startup? What is a venture capitalist? These are things that I was just had to learn on the fly, and I actually don't think that that's dissimilar to a lot of entrepreneurs, but it can give you a sense of like, how did I get here, in life, which is both a scary feeling but also an exciting one. And I actually love the quote that you put out earlier about the where people find their what is the word I'm looking for? Their destiny is on the road that they took to avoid it. I thought, man, I can relate to that. I wasn't looking to be a tech company CEO at all. But that I just followed the interests that I had and followed the problems that I saw that I was interested in fixing in the world. And it just kind of led me here.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your day-to-day work a little bit. What
Sure.
are the exciting and challenging parts of your work on daily basis that you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenging part is I'm the CEO, and so when it comes to making decisions, um, I've got to make all the big ones. I've got to decide the direction of the company, where are we headed, how are we going to fund the company, the trade-offs, and kind of deciding should we go path A or path B or come up with a path C. That stuff's hard, and I think there's an illusion with anyone who's never been in that CEO seat that that person either completely knows what they're doing or completely doesn't know what they're doing. It depends on how you view your leader, and neither one of those is true. Um, I I know how to make decisions. Not all the decisions I make are right. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to apply both knowledge and data and wisdom to those decisions, but I get some right and I get some wrong, and I'm just a flawed human being at the end of the day. So that's the big challenge, is just kind of making all the right calls,
Mhm.
and then communicating those things well to the organization. I tend to be kind of an ideas person and a creative type. So I'm kind of always on to the next idea and the next thing. And that's not always what people need. They need to be grounded in kind of consistent communication about the same thing over and over and over again, that is probably a natural weakness of mine. So a real challenge for me to overcome is staying in the lane, being patient, and communicating continuously on one thing to make sure everybody's really on board and understands before moving on to the next exciting, shiny thing that I want to pursue.
Which is a lot of work, right?
Which is a lot of work and a lot of
Yes.
discipline and a lot of patience. That's been a lot for me to try to learn. I think from the exciting side of what I do, I get to set the tone. I get to set the culture and sort of the experience for the organization. What does it feel like? What does it look like to work here? What are we on mission to do? What is our ultimate vision? Like, I love that. That's really fun. And then honestly, Kevin, I really enjoy this stuff. Like, I enjoy talking to people about kind of what I believe, what I know, what wisdom I've gained over the course of time. And of course, talking about Fringe and where we're headed. I love to share our story, and I love to talk to people. That's just a naturally kind of comfortable, easy, exciting thing for me to do. And I'm really grateful that that's part of my job, and it's not just really hard strategic decisions all day, every day.
and and to your point, you came to the right place, right? That's why we created the American Business Podcast, to learn from you, businesses like yourself. And I always believe in, to support your point, I always believe in that story, underlying story of each company,
Yeah.
right? It's just like a person, right? We all uh, come to Earth, and then we evolve, we change, and then we are successful in certain points. Sometimes we fail, but it's that story that actually shapes our lives.
Yeah.
Similarly, we see the same things, same evolution in organizations. And whenever I hear about stories about a company just like yours, really informative, that we all learn, and exciting content. What is the secret of your success?
Oh man. I don't know that I've fully figured that out yet, but I think one of the secrets I've discovered is it's really helpful to never think of myself as one down from anyone, right? And I think people really respect that. So when I meet a leader, so we have a partnership with ADP, for example. So when I met the CEO of ADP at a function, I think we're in California or something like that, and I didn't walk in with this big pile of reverence and this attitude of like, oh, I'm just so grateful to be in your presence. And that's how most people treat someone like that, right? I just said, hello, I'm Jordan. Great to meet you. Like, how's the conference going for you? Just normal, just, like comfortable with people in authority, comfortable with people of an elevated status, if you will. And I think that has really helped me, because then I think people in turn, they look at me and go, oh, he's comfortable in his own skin. He's not some sycophantic person that's here to just sort of kiss my butt and make me feel good about myself. He's like a real person, and maybe I can trust that. Maybe this is somebody I can partner with. That's been a skill or a trait that has served me really well in many contexts.
What is your vision for the company's future?
Yeah. So I think what we've done so far is that we've convinced, or we've helped convince the business world that employee experience is important, right? That just like a customer experience is hugely important, right? How do people actually feel about using your product or using your service? And then what are they going and telling your potential customers about you? That everybody agrees that's important, right?
Yes.
But I think employee experience is just as important, because it informs that customer experience, because their experience is relative to how happy the employees are that are providing that service, right?
True.
And then also, I think it informs the employer brand. How do people view that company as an employer, right? Are they worth working for? Are they worth recruiting for? And therefore it's sort of a trust thing. So I think we've done a good job sort of getting there. and convincing of that. Now we're trying to lay the framework for how is it that we guide companies to create a great employee experience. Now we know it's important. How do you do it? What are the tools that are needed? What are the programs that are needed? How do we need to integrate these tools together so that they speak to each other and there's one kind of congruent, easy experience for everyone involved? That's the work that we're doing now. And I think when we're done with that work, I think we're going to be able to guide companies who are interested. Not everybody cares, and that's just a fact of life. But companies that are interested in providing a great employee experience and then all the downstream business impacts of that, we're going to be able to go in with the tools and with the wisdom and guide them to that place, as both consultants and as software providers. And I'm really excited to do that because the vision of the company is that one day everyone would wake up excited to go to work, because I
I
believe in
like it.
work. I think work is good. And I
Yes.
think the only reason why we think it's not good is because we feel forced into it, or we're not aligned with the mission, or we feel like it's just about going out and getting money every day. But if you can take away those elements and people feel aligned and on board and invited into the mission and they feel a sense of belonging, then I think work can feel like a very exciting thing. And Monday morning can be better than Friday afternoon, if that's the attitude you have. So that's ultimately what we're driving at, is everyone gets to wake up excited to go to work with people they care about and on a mission that they love.
What are the biggest challenges facing the organization?
Facing Fringe, oh man, I think from the beginning it's always been we're just so countercultural, you know. We go to market with this sort of, I don't, irreverence, not quite the word, but it's we're not pursuing to the nth degree professionalism and that corporate speak in that way. I mean, you can tell just how I communicate, right? It's about authenticity, it's about being direct and real and human. And there are companies that just are so attracted to that and they love that. But there's also companies that aren't, right? And so I think what's a challenge for us is we end up not being for everyone, even though the tool would work for everyone. They just don't have the same value set as Fringe. And we put our values on our sleeve and we wear them right out there in the public. And so we attract who we attract, and we don't attract some others. And that's okay. But it is a challenge and it is a sacrifice, because hypothetically we could play it closer to the vest and maybe attract a higher number of customers, but we're just not willing to do it. You know, I guess is the truth. We just would rather make that sacrifice to get customers that are just really bought in and really believe as we do in employee experience. And I think sometimes we're kind of a bit more of a movement than we are of a company at times. And again, it's a challenge, but it's also just a unique thing of the group of founders and who we are and what we believe.
Okay, so let's talk about the state of HR tech industry. How do you see the market, opportunities as well
Yeah.
as challenges? What is your viewpoint?
Yeah. Oh gosh. It's actually pretty clear. When we got started in 2018, I'd say it was proliferation of HR tech. Lots of VC dollars being poured into it. Lots of interest in new point solutions and new types of benefits that employees were expecting and wanting. Demands of 5 different generations in the workplace at one time. So there's been a lot of expansion of the HR tech market. And what I've seen in the last year, maybe 18 months, is consolidation. Not necessarily contraction. There's some of that, and you see some companies going out of business, but I see much more of the ADPs and the UKGs and the big players are buying up the smaller players, because what they're trying to produce is really a singular solution that will handle payroll,
Yes.
HRS, recruiting,
That's
training.
everyone's dream in the industry, right? Just one platform. Everyone
Yeah,
thinks about
exactly,
one
because
platform.
HR
Yes.
professionals, they're overwhelmed, they have too much to do
Yes.
already, and they're just drowning underneath all this vendor management that they have to do. And so it makes perfect sense to me. So what we're out there trying to do is we're trying to consolidate as much value into our platform as we possibly can, with some limits. We're not getting into the payroll business. We're not getting into the insurance business, right? So there's some limits on what we're willing to do, but that makes us valuable to the customer, but also valuable to the companies that might want to partner with us, or let's
True.
be honest, ultimately acquire us at some point in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, okay, let's talk about a popular subject. Okay, we get a lot of views whenever we talk about it, which is AI.
Yes, of course.
So, from your point of view, you have decades of experience, and from your point of view, how do you see the impact of AI on business?
Oh, it's enormous. I think it's hard to even articulate, I think, the length to which it will make huge impact. I mean, for now, what we're seeing is, the focus is on how do we enhance human beings? How do we give them tools to make them better, smarter, more efficient, et cetera? And I think that's great, and I'm a fan of that, and I hope that that's the focus moving forward. But I think, honestly, I think what we're going to figure out is that because of AI, there are people at every company that maybe we don't need at this company anymore, if we're honest, right? And maybe that just means that there's more small companies in the world and less large companies in the world. And I don't actually think that's a bad thing. So that doesn't stress me out very much. But I think, the key around it to me is that we've got to figure out what AI is good at and what AI is not good at, right? And make sure that we have the humans doing the human work, right? Building trust with other people, right? For example, being creative, coming up with novel ideas, not something AI can just find on the internet, but actually new creative solutions to problems that maybe AI just won't be able to calculate because it's, doesn't have that creative element to it. So it's the division of labor thing. And the more we set up human versus AI, that's not the paradigm we should be talking about. I think it's, what is the AI work? What is the human work? And, let's make sure that everybody knows their lane and plays to their strengths.
Well, based on your experience, what are the best marketing practices that bring the highest ROI nowadays?
These days, it's all about authenticity. There's so much marketing out there, right? There's just, everybody's email inbox is just inundated. AI is writing email after email. You see LinkedIn posts that you're like, I know that was written by AI. And so there's just this deterioration of trust in content. So we've been consuming content, just getting as much as we can of it ever since social media came out, right? And now we're starting to back away a little bit and going, I don't even know who's the creator of this content. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if a human creator. I have no idea anymore. So I'm just going to kind of not trust any of it. And so now we're in a trust economy, right? We have to build trust with our audience. And I think the only way to do that is be as real and transparent and authentic as we possibly can be, warts and all, as they say. Like, just show people the good, the bad, and the ugly, and let them see it, and have the courage to do that. And also to say, I don't know, when you don't know the answer to something, right? That's the thing about thought leadership, is like, the temptation is to go, I've got an answer for everything, but we don't.
That's true.
And so
And
I think
it is hard. Like, see, that's a virtue you just mentioned. It is hard for many people to say, I don't know, right?
Yes.
So not knowing something is a virtue, really. And, that's a great point that you mentioned, that we all should practice. On daily basis.
Build trust
it's hard.
with people when you do that,
Yes, absolutely. And to your point earlier about being authentic in terms of marketing communications, and using AI in a way that it's hard to tell which one is really a human generated content or robot generated content is becoming a challenge. And my guess is, my background is marketing fundamentally, so I always think about these things. And in the past, you'll remember email, for example, or telemarketing. Like, back in the time, we weren't able to answer the phone at home.
Right.
they keep calling telemarketing like non-stop. Now they're offering something, like they all sell something, right? Finally, they had to pass the laws, and then this phone calls just stop, right?
Yep.
Because they abuse
Right.
the phone,
Right.
the telemarketing. And then same thing happened for the emails when we think
Yep.
about it, right? So we were sending all the emails to our contacts, and all of a sudden they abuse it. Then unwanted, unsolicited emails that we start to
Mhm.
receive, and then now there are laws against it. Same
Yep.
thing now we are seeing for the SMS text messaging. We also offer CRM system in our company, and we also we partner with a phone company to operate these SMS text messages as part of the customer relationship management.
Right.
Now phone companies are under scrutiny because of these unsolicited text messages. Now everything's so strict. You gotta just shape it. It just comes to this point that's inevitable because of the abuse that we
Yes.
have been seeing in marketing communications. My guess is we're gonna see something similar for the AI generated content. Because to your point, after a while, it's hard to tell which one is really authentic, which one is really robot generated.
Right.
And
right.
then you write all these things. So nowadays we are able to tell if we pay really attention, because the LLM languages are pretty similar, like in terms of content they generate. But it's getting better and better, like just more human-like and human-like. Then it's gonna be more difficult to figure it out which one is really authentic. My expectation in the future is having those laws, regulations on top of these content. They'll have to enclose whether that's really AI generated or human generated eventually. Like we're gonna have to write it down eventually. They're gonna force us to do it in the future. That's my guess.
Yeah. And I think and I don't have any problem with AI generated content. I just think you need to tell people that's what it is.
Yes, this is very
Be honest about it. It's that authenticity.
absolutely
It's the transparency.
correct.
Like that's okay. You just lead off with this is AI generated and then show the content. I have no problem with that. The only other thing I would say about that in terms of what's effective right now, and this has always been effective, but I think humor is particularly effective right now. I think we just live in a very stressful world at a stressful time, right? For a myriad of reasons, one of which is we're just going so fast as a society, and that is just stressful, right?
True.
That I think when you can get people to laugh, and make fun of themselves a little bit, or like see the bright side of things, that seems to be really effective. You see it in like now there's like negative marketing. I don't know if you've seen, like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, but like Liquid Death is like the perfect example of this. Like they created a can of water. It's literally life-giving. Like it is one of the things that is essential for life, and they called it Liquid Death. And as a result, it was incredibly popular, right? Because it was just this irony of like, oh, that's absurd and ridiculous.
Yes.
And you're not really trying to sell me your product. You're trying to not sell me your product by calling it death. And I want it more because you did that. And that's interesting.
It really is. Actually, when I was studying it, it's one of the marketing communication techniques. So negative attracts positive. That's why. It's very interesting.
Fascinating.
Let's talk about leadership a little bit. How do you define leadership, and what are the great qualities of a good leader must have?
Man, I don't know that I have a distinct definition. I think I think a leader is someone that other people are following, right? Sometimes people are leading because they really want to be, and they're trying to be a leader, and they're seeking followers. They're seeking people to trust in them and trust in their ideas and so forth. And I think there's other people that are leaders, that people just do listen to and follow and respect their opinion and so forth. So it doesn't really matter which, really, at the end of the day. It's more about how you lead. In terms of the attributes of like what makes a good leader, to me, what I found, the first thing there is honesty, integrity. Like to be a good leader, you just have to actually be who you are in front of people. It's a scary thing to do. But if there's anything that's not quite fully honest, not authentic, it just you just open the door for mistrust. And once you have a little bit of mistrust, it's just so hard to get it back. Secondly, I'd say being a good communicator, and that doesn't mean that you have to be able to give all the best verbose speeches and be good on a podcast or something like that, but just someone that is intentional about communication with others, right? That tells people what is happening, why it's happening, how decisions were arrived at, those sorts of things. Bringing people in to the thought process and to the decision making and all that is really huge. And then I think you got to set the ego aside. Like, you got to be about others, be about the company, be about the people that work for you, and maybe it's not a company, leaders could be anything, could be a football coach, whatever the case may be. But
Yes.
so, like, this idea of servant leadership, of like, hey, I'm going to come underneath and lift, as opposed to being the person that is just kind of, hey, everybody sit at my feet and listen to what I have to say. It's just completely the opposite of what's needed, especially in today's world. People just really need somebody that's willing to sacrifice their ego, sacrifice their pride, and just be willing to authentically kind of run out in the front of the pack and go, hey, come with me. And if I fall down, help me back up, because I'm human and I'm weak and I don't have it all together. But those are the sort of things, the sort of attributes that I see people respond to regularly. That, man, that you've got, this person's got some humility, they're communicating with me, and when they say something, I know that they actually mean it.
Do you have any role models? Have you had any mentors who help you shape your career journey over the years?
Yeah. It's been a difficult thing to find people in my life that have kind of gone before me and done exactly this journey. I just didn't grow up in an environment like that, and I don't live in a city that's full of people like that either. So really, it's kind of been through the process of, like, fundraising and bringing in advisors for Fringe, that I've been able to sort of gain some of these role models, and that's been a really great experience. There's a man named Mark McLean, who is the CEO of a company called SailPoint. It's a publicly traded company, but I got introduced to him about a year ago, and I have never said this to his face, but I call him my work dad, to like, to my buddy, because every time I get on the phone with him, which is only a few times a year, I just kind of am just like, hey man, I got this question, I need help with this, I don't know what I'm doing over here, and I just sort of inundate him with, like, all of my anxiety and all the things that, I don't have anybody to kind of mentor me on. And he's been so kind and patient and helpful with me. But that's another area where, you just realize as a leader, it's like, I just don't know everything I need to know. I'm not capable of everything I need to be capable of. I need help. And the quicker you realize that as a leader, the faster you grow as a leader. And so I've been really grateful to find some people like that.
If there is one key career lesson that you learned the hard way, what would it be that you can share with us?
Yeah. Sometimes you need to be more patient, and sometimes you need to be less patient. Would be would be the lesson that I've learned. I have gotten both of those wrong. Sometimes I know for sure that something needs to change. We need to make a certain decision, move a certain direction, but I decide to be patient, quote unquote, about it, because I don't want to go through the hassle of convincing everybody and making people feel like they were wrong, or feel criticized because I'm trying to change a decision or change a direction. And so I'll be overly patient and waste months of time where we actually could be operating better or doing something that's improved from where we are today. And then I've been under patient as well, and some of that is this. I talk about this in some of my thought leadership, but this whole ADHD thing, where I am just interested in new and novel ideas, and it kind of takes my brain all over the place. And so as a result of that, sometimes we can make a great decision as a company, and I don't have the patience to let it unfold, to let it play out. you know.
Mm.
And so I'll be impatient and I'll pull us in a new direction before the first thing ever got a chance to blossom. And I've made both mistakes many times. So it's don't be too patient and don't fail to be patient enough. You know.
Well, sometimes in business, things they don't go in our way.
Mm-hmm.
And how to stay motivated and inspired in business in times of challenges.
Yeah, I think when things are going well, I find myself looking forward, right, in time. I'm thinking, oh, this is going to lead to this, which is going to lead to that, which is going to lead to that. And that's actually really fun. And so when you see a future that you're excited about, that's a that's a fun way to live. But when things are going poorly, you don't want to look forward, right? Because when you start projecting what's going to happen with this negative thought in mind, you begin to spiral into a very anxious place. So when things are going poorly, I like to look back and go, why am I here? Why did I start this company? Why what is this about in the first place? What's the mission? You know, like that helps me tremendously to ground myself and hey, this is just a moment in time. This is just a particular finite acute struggle today that will end at some point in time. But the point is I'm happy to be here. I'm grateful to be here. Look at what we've built. Look at how far we've come, right? That helps me tremendously not to just spiral into oblivion when things are challenging. And I'm a high emotion type of person. And so I'm either spiraling up or spiraling down. So I gotta be very careful with what I think about.
If you had a chance to go back history,
Hmm.
personally or historically, to what time period would you like to go back and why?
I mean, many of them I would like to at least visit. Ultimately, I think I'd probably come back to the present. But I'd say any time before the internet would be great. Whether it's the 50s, 60s, 70s, it could be even further back than that. I think there's something that we've really lost in the information age, um, and that's and that's the curiosity of not knowing. I actually think it was a powerful thing when we didn't know the answers and we couldn't look them up. We used to debate, we used to wonder, we
Yes.
used to theorize, and now we just type it in and get the answer. And so I think there's entire portions of our brains that we've just stopped using in recent decades. And I'd love to go back and light that part of my brain up again and really just wonder at things, and debate with friends and not know who's right. I really miss that.
Well, is there a book, a movie, a show that help you shape your career perspective over the years?
Oh man, probably many of them. Um, Trying to think of what presently. Yeah, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank, Kevin. So I'll say this
No
and
problem. We'll come back to this later. No worries.
I'll say this
Yes.
instead. I'm trying to write it. I'm trying to write a book
Oh, that's even better.
that
Wow.
will
Wow.
shape both my perspective and
That's
others.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Because
about
it's a
halfway
lot of
through.
work.
Yeah,
I
it's a lot
published
of
a book
work.
myself. I mean, I
Did you?
experienced it like it's a lot of work. It's a
Yeah,
great experience. I mean,
yeah,
absolutely. When you're writing, you also make a research. You also think about it. Just that is also a learning experience. That's what I learned.
for sure.
But eventually, it's a lot of work that you need to put into a book. So I really
Yeah.
respect that. So I hope you enjoy that experience.
Yeah, so far so good. But I'm excited to do that because there's so much that I've picked up from so many different
Mm.
sources over the years, and writing kind of is an opportunity to organize all of those thoughts. Really, for me, just to kind of like put, kind of get all of this into writing and understand what it all means, and if that, hopefully, that's helpful to others someday. But I
Mhm.
haven't even gotten that far. I'm just trying to write. You know,
That's amazing. The
yeah.
So we also experience it in the American Business Podcast. So we are a video first podcast and then audio next.
Okay.
So we exist in YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, and LinkedIn. But at the same time, we also operate in podcast environment, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart,
Right.
Apple, and so on. So recently we joined Substack. So it'll make us
Yeah.
write more. We'll definitely use videos, of course, no doubt about it. But we're gonna write more. That's the goal. So that's something new for us, being in
love that.
Substack to start writing and generating some written records in addition to videos and audio. So let's see how it's gonna go.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I got into Substack maybe 6 months ago. I think it was summer, and I think I did like 3 kind of really long form posts in there, and
Oh,
it was great. It was great, like brain dumps, because it actually helped me with my
ah,
book. But then I
that's
got
true.
interested in the book, and I stopped posting on Substack. But I'm gonna get back to it someday, because
Oh
I actually
wow.
think it's a really cool community.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like in the future, maybe you can just release the summary of certain chapters, and if you
Yeah,
want more, then get my book, right? So for the details. But
yeah.
the pieces of it as a summary on Substack will be a great idea. I'm just thinking out loud.
It is a really
So
good idea.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Thank you for that.
of course. Well, okay. What is the best business career advice that you ever received, and what is the worst business career advice you ever received?
The best advice was not from a business source at all. It was author by the name of Bob Goff, Goff, and his book was called Love Does. And his comment in there, and he's had this really crazy life where he's just been involved in so many big moments with like big players in the world and so forth. And his comment was, "You're already invited to the party." And I really have taken that to heart. I mentioned earlier around just how I interact with people of a certain status or whatever, in a more kind of casual and peer level sort of way. And I think
Yes.
that's part of why, is because instead of seeing myself as somebody that needs to like earn my way into the room or the party, just to think of myself as invited, already. And I can walk through a door that I want to walk through because I'm invited. And that's really, really helped me to fight the imposter syndrome and the self-doubt and some of the things that would creep in and still do creep in. I think one of the worst pieces of advice I ever got is about being a CEO. Somebody told me, you should know how to do everybody's job at your company. And that used to stress me out, thinking, man, I don't know how to code. Like, I can do sales and marketing, but like, I don't think I
I
can
can
do
imagine. Oh my
operations.
God.
You know what I
Instant,
mean?
instant depression. Yes.
Right, I don't know how to use
You want
all
to know
these
everything.
tools that we use. I mean, am I supposed to be learning this stuff? And I think it was probably just some like really kind of very small business advice, or like somebody with like 2 employees or something. But man, I took it to heart for a little while, and then I just threw it out because I was like, I am never going to fulfill that advice. And I'm not even sure why I need to.
That's true. That's true. What is your career advice for the next generation professionals?
Oh my gosh. I think this is going to be kind of macro, but I think we're moving into an ideas economy at this point. In other words, if you can think it up, you can probably build it. And you can probably build it for relatively low cost. And so what I love about that is it's a very democratic thing. And AI, I think, is enhanced this tremendously. I don't need to go and find a rich uncle or a venture capitalist to write me $100,000 check so that I can start to build a thing. I can go out with $500 and get some AI tools in place, and just start building a thing. And I think so. My advice would be, don't assume that you need to walk the path that your parents walked, that it's going to be undergrad and then get a master's and then work on your resume and then get hired somewhere and then work your way up. That's probably not how the future is going to work. Would be my guess. I would default to, can I build something myself? And the answer is yes, by the way. You just have to want to, and you got to be willing to work hard and be self-disciplined enough, that because there's nobody that's going to tell you to get up and work every day. But like, think first about being your own boss and building something for yourself, think second about who can teach me, not an organization, not a college, but a person. Like, who's someone that can be my mentor that I can just follow, watch, learn from, and kind of be a protege of theirs. And then if neither of those things feel like something that's approachable, then yeah, maybe default back to it's about education and slowly building skills and getting a job. And that's okay. There's no shame in that. But I think the future is much more open to everyone in terms of being a builder, a founder, an entrepreneur. And I would lean that direction because you're invited to the party. So
I love it. Yes. Well, in this episode of the American Business Podcast, is there any question that you had expected me to ask you, but I didn't ask you?
oh, I don't know if there's anything that I expected. These were great. These were great questions. I think if you'd ask anything else personal, I already told you I don't have time for any hobbies, so there's really nothing interesting to talk about there.
Okay. Well, actually, I'm actually curious.
Sure.
What made you start Fringe?
Oh, yeah, good question. So when I was doing the former company, Greenhouse Money, we would spend a lot of time with our clients, kind of talking to them about their financial life. I think I mentioned. And one of the patterns, that's one of the things that I'm good at, is pattern recognition. And one of the patterns that I could see over and over again is that people didn't understand certain elements of their financial life. Some elements were just like black holes for their brain. They didn't understand it, and they also weren't interested in understanding it, which is an interesting combination of things.
Okay.
One of those things was employee benefits, right?
Ah.
What benefits do I have? How do they work? What is the definition of these insurance policies, and how much? All of that was like, I don't know if it was so overwhelming because it's written in sort of an alien language that only
It
finance
really
nerds
is. That's a
understand,
great point. Yes.
or it's just, I think especially for younger people, it just doesn't feel relevant. It's like, well, I have to be sick to benefit from my benefits. I have to be dead. I have to be 65 years old. I have to be disabled. And then these things kick in. So it's like, I don't know. I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm fine. Right. And so I kind of developed this theory that companies were spending a lot of money, a lot of actual value on benefits that were producing a very small amount of perceived value to the employee. And I think perceived value is incredibly important. If you're going to spend all this money on your people, you want them to appreciate it. You want to engender some loyalty and goodwill, from doing that. And so I thought, could you flip that on its head? Could there be a relatively small investment that would yield a really high perceived value? And that's where this idea of fringe or lifestyle benefits came from. Is like, what are the benefits that I would give people that aren't sick, dead, disabled, or 65, that actually benefit their lives every single day, right? That they would see as this really great, like, this makes me feel special, makes me feel like an MVP. What would those things be? And it was that question that kind of came in my mind that eventually developed into this entire company.
That's an amazing story. And that's the power of observation you just mentioned. That's amazing. There's always something that I talk to startup entrepreneurs, business owners. Like sometimes I do coaching with startups as well. So when we talk about market research, it's always big word, right? So is it gonna be like focus groups, or is it gonna be like surveys? Like, who am I gonna hire? How am I gonna ask? Sometimes it's just your professional observation. You just go there and observe people, and then you can get an idea. And what you just described is just exactly how it is. Like, you observe it again and again and again, and you see the pattern right there. And that's the need, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's
very insightful.
It's
Very
fun
insightful.
to find those little pockets of like some problem that nobody's really addressing. It's a cool feeling.
Yes, absolutely. Well, in the American Business Podcast, we have a little tradition. So I have a question for you coming from our previous guest, and I'll ask you to leave a question here with me. So I'm going to ask that question to our coming guest.
Sure.
So the question for you coming from our previous guest is, What is something that you are holding on to that you should let go?
Oh man, that's tough. I know it's hard to answer that question without going deep. Um, but you know what the heck? I'll be a little deep.
All right.
I mentioned ADHD before, and that's a
Mhm.
part of my story. It's something I talk about. It'll be in the book for sure. Um, one of the hard things about ADHD is kids with ADHD experience a lot of shame because they struggle to do things that neurotypical kids can pretty easily do. Um, and as a result of that, you can kind of grow up with this sense of like, I'm less than, I'm not as good, I'm maybe even like, there's something wrong with me, as kind of one of those core beliefs. And it's something I've been working through the last couple of years, therapy, etc. And I think what I really need to let go of is this idea that because I have this, let's call it a neurodiversity, that I have a handicap, that I'm not capable of certain things. And I need to let go of that because it's just that's not actually true. What's true is that there are things that are more challenging for me than they are for others, right? And
Mhm.
there are special ways in which I need to approach certain tasks because they're really hard, but it that doesn't have anything to do with outcomes and capabilities and kind of what I'm ultimately able to achieve in life. And so I have been letting that go, but I need to fully let it go. And that would be really healthy for me and hopefully inspiring to someone listening as well.
Absolutely.
And I think you mentioned, did I'm supposed to come up with a question for the next guest? Or are we doing that part yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that yeah, yes. Any question that you like to leave for the next guest?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go even deeper. I'm gonna go even
All
deeper.
right.
Um, who is it that you need to forgive or ask forgiveness from? Let's go deep.
That is
That
really deep.
that's
Okay.
the next guest
Okay.
problem.
Noted. Noted. Yes. Yeah.
Not my
But make
problem.
make sure to watch the next one so you
I
get the
will.
answer.
I
Okay.
will
That's a great
have you
question. Thank you. Thank
squirm
you.
on your podcast.
Okay. Well, in the American Business Podcast, that's our 132nd episode. Any question that you would like to ask me?
Yeah, Kevin. I won't make it that hard about forgiveness, but
Okay.
um, I'll take it easy on you.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, sure. No, I think I'd love to hear maybe you talk about just the power of hosting a podcast, what it is that you've learned, and it could be a factual thing or it could just
Mhm.
be about how people work and how they communicate. Like, what's been some of
Yes.
the most interesting parts of doing what you're doing?
Mhm. So this is our 132nd episode, and
Right.
we've been around for 11 months. It hasn't been a year yet.
Yeah.
And a couple of things that I've been learning in the podcast is every single episode that we are streaming, I am learning something new.
Right.
So it became my school, literally.
Mm,
And I'm learning from you. Some things that you just shared, maybe you've been thinking about this part of your thought process, perhaps. But some things that you mentioned new to me, and I'm sure for some of our audience, that's also something new for them.
right.
So we always learn something new in each episode.
Yeah.
So that is really really inspiring for me.
That's
That's really
rewarding.
motivational and rewarding. Absolutely. I mean, this is something like, and I like it to be the same experience for all of our audience. And you can believe that, and you can bet on that. You are touching someone every time
Hmm.
that you are talking in this podcast,
Right.
and that is really powerful. You don't
Yeah.
know who, you don't know where he, she, in what part of their career path right now,
Right.
but this content that we are generating and creating, it is very helpful in so many ways. And the second part is which we developed this mission late last year, because initially our mission was to generate and share educational content, unfiltered,
Right.
non-political, informative, and we share this with business professionals. Now we also figured something new. We actually let businesses share their stories, like yourself, like others, entrepreneurs, business owners, executives, leaders. So you can put the word out through the American Business Podcast. So we are also a media channel in our own right as a podcast.
Right.
So I also love this mission as well. To in addition to sharing informative educational content, letting American companies sharing their stories, no matter how big they are. Doesn't matter when they started, how long they've been in the market. It does not matter. They come with a background. They come with a story. They come with a wealth of knowledge and experience, insights. This is really powerful, and I think that's underrated in general. That's what I've been seeing. So that's why one of the reasons that the American Business Podcast is doing well, and we get a lot of interest and attention from the market, which I truly appreciate it. So these wealth of knowledge and this interaction, this is really, really inspiring for me. That I can share right now. Yes.
I'm glad to hear it. That's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And there is also one thing that you talked about patterns earlier, and there is one common trait that I've been seeing in our guests is whoever comes here, that person is very generous, because you take your time and you come here and you share your professional insights and story, which you don't have to do at all, right? So I find it to be very generous on a personal level. So for that, I really thank you. Thank you very much for being with us today and sharing your professional insights with us. I truly appreciate it. It's really meaningful, really.
Yeah. Well, I also enjoy it. So thanks.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, for those who like to continue this conversation with you, what is the best way for them to learn about Fringe, get in touch with you, and learn about your organization, if that's okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the interest. If the interest is in Fringe, then you can find us at fringe.us. And also on LinkedIn, we have a good presence there. You can follow some of the content. If you're interested in me and sharing overly personal things in a public setting like I tend to do, you can likewise find me on LinkedIn. That's really the only social media channel that I consistently use, and it's video content, it's written content, blogs that I'll link to occasionally. But yeah, it's a lot of this vibe that you would have experienced today as a listener or as a viewer. So yeah, please join me, check it out, get in the comments, and would love to start a relationship with you.
Jordan, thank you so much for being with us in the American Business Podcast, and thank you for sharing your professional insights with us today.
Absolutely, Kevin. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. Well, to our audience and to our listeners, we'll be right back after a short break. Thank you very much.